All right, we're live. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in, everybody, to this week's therapy session.
Ah,
We'll be uh, we'll be taking your comments and your nickels throughout the night to help you through what is yet another troubling loss for the Chicago Bears. It's not troubling; it was expected, but it
yeah.
was just not fun. It was tough to sit through. Um, at first, I'm like cackling. Like, I mean, there was a time where I was like, "What is happening?" Like, have you seen the Bears wide receivers go up and win balls like that? Like that touchdown throw. We'll get to it in the show at some point, I'm sure. That touchdown throw is a god awful throw, god awful decision, right? Like he's covered. He's the the Jets players' numbers are in front of Pringle. Like that is a covered receiver, and
Yeah.
he tries to force it in there, and Pringle makes a hero play. I mean, unreal, and obviously the Claypool catch down the sideline, and I was like, where's this been? Right, like the dump off that becomes an explosive play, and you're like, okay, and then that Eddie almost had that pick six, and I was just like, this is wild. Like everybody's stepping up in a weird way, but
It was fun for a little while. Then it kind of reality set in, and Trevor Simeon became who Trevor Simeon is, and the Bears defense just realized, hey, we don't have any talent back here at all. And then Mike White looked like a Pro Bowler.
Mike White, good for one start off the bench. We'll see what he does the rest of the year, but that's what he came in hot last year.
I remember that. Yeah. I've always liked him. I think he deserved a chance there, but when they made the move for Wilson, everyone knew Wilson was the guy, but now it's like, get that guy out of there. That's just a very weird situation. I'm glad they took that guy instead of Justin Fields, which was a lot of the buzz. I never believed much in Zach Wilson based on his fun pro day, because I'm like, really, this is what everyone's excited about, and that really started his buzz, his pro
Yeah.
day.
The so there is a point in the year where it's like, okay, Bears are going to draft a quarterback, you know, and there's this buzz around this Zach Wilson guy, and his highlight tape was fun, and it was like, okay, well, they're talking about him maybe like late first round. Bears are going to have a late first round pick. Maybe that'll set up, right? And then you get into the draft process, and I'm not a draft. I mean, I hang out, I associate with those people, but I am not one. Like
Yeah,
I keep my distance. You and I are kind of the same way. Like
yeah,
we're not draft nicks, but we know those people. They're a little odd. They're like linebackers, right? We're offensive linemen. They're linebackers. They're a few screws short of apart kind of people. And you just watch this elevation of Zach Wilson over the draft process, and it was like it's the same tape, right? Like
yeah.
he didn't transfer to Ohio State or Michigan or Alabama or any like Power 5 conference school and then have new tape that they just released, right? This isn't like new film that you discovered. This is still the same. This is still the same guy, right? And it was just these off-platform throws and like, oh, this is the Mahomes thing. This is Mahomes off-platform throws, and it was just this like, oh, that's the future of the league. And I'm like, the future of the league is not off-platform throws.
No.
That is bizarre, but that was the narrative. Was that this guy can throw from it changes arm angle. He can play. He can make plays out of structure, and like that. That's what you want. It's like okay. And then of course we don't know the interview stuff, but he kind of seems like a little entitled. I'll keep my word back.
Yeah,
Um,
I was pretty critical of him on the site. I wrote a few Bears Jets types of things, at the site. I think, and then I took a chance in all three articles I wrote to take a tiny little shot at Zach Wilson. I just wasn't a fan. I just of him and the whole lead up to the draft and at the draft, and then like the stuff I see about him, and just like, God, this guy looks like a jackass. I'm like, I'm so glad in hindsight that the Bears didn't end up with this guy. It was just Cade McNown vibes is what I've heard it described as, and that's very good that the Bears avoided that bullet.
yeah, there's, I mean, it's not Cutler, but there's kind of a little Cutler. And it's like a Cutler combined with Cade McNown or something. Maybe that's what it is. But
See, I liked Cutler's attitude.
I like
His
Cutler,
you know,
but
his attitude, like where he just did not give an F. It was like I kind of appreciated that with Jay Cutler. But see, I always understood who he was. I never expected him to be a top tier quarterback. I always knew he'd be middle of the road. He'll give you some great, he'll give you some crap, deal with the in between. And if he had a great team around him, he'd be fine. So I accepted who Cutler was pretty early. But as far as his off the field stuff and the way he would treat the media and acted on the sideline, his, I never minded that. I was okay with that. But Wilson, like you said, it's a different animal. It's like, ugh.
well, like you said, we don't have to worry about it. Poor Jets.
Yeah.
They'd probably be a pretty good football team if they would have done the right thing and took the guy who was sitting there, Justin Fields. But
Yeah.
and then then the Niners, they they do what they do. It was such a wild thing.
Weird draft.
But you ready? You want to do a podcast?
I'm ready. Let's get this going.
All right. Welcome to Bear and Balance. I'm Jeff Berckes, a writer for Windy City Gridiron, and I'm joined by the editor of that fine website, Lester A. Wiltfong Jr. Lester, the Bears lose another one, this time in New Jersey with backup quarterback Trevor Siemian. How are you feeling after another loss?
Expected. It was an expected L for the Bears. I think it's the strange start to that was kind of made the whole day even weirder. And part of me was like, man, I hope we do get Peterman. I think that would be fun to see Peterman out there. I was expecting a loss anyway. Let's have this be as epically bad as possible. But it didn't happen. And it was funny because Siemian talked about after the game in his post-game presser that he did tweak his oblique, but he's like, man, I can't. It's embarrassing if I miss a game when I get hurt in warmups. So he got a shot and, he went out there and he toughed it out and he was fine. He played like I thought he would. He's a bunch of check downs. He got some nice plays from his guys, and that's life with the Bears offense. 10 points without an electric quarterback like Justin Fields.
Yeah, there were a few people out in the Bears world who talking all week about how, well, this is going to show how Justin Fields isn't a good passer because Trevor Siemian knows how to run an offense, and it's going to show just the deficiencies in Justin Fields here because Trevor Siemian's gonna run this offense well, and he's gonna put up yardage, and he's gonna show you. And even that like early where again Darrington Evans just like beats CJ Mosley out in space, who is a slow middle linebacker and just takes off, and he gets a bunch of yards after a catch, and Montgomery sheds a tackle behind the line of scrimmage, and then he gets a bunch of yardage. Chase Claypool with a nice down the field 50-50 ball that he grabs, like some nice plays by offensive playmakers, and all of a sudden some yards started accumulating in the Trevor Siemian stat sheet, which, okay, great. But are you really going to tell me after watching that game that Trevor Siemian is a better passer of the football than Justin Fields? I mean, who are these people, and what are they watching, and what priors do they really need confirmed when they're so blind to want to back up and cap for Trevor Siemian of all people?
I think it boils down to a few things, and one of it is some people just want to be right. They want to be right that they thought Fields was a bust. They want to be right about it. They want to be right about their takes they've had, their awful takes they've had this whole season. So there were some media members that were ready, and when Trevor Siemian came out and had a few nice plays, they were ready, man. They had that article ready to go, and then like it just didn't happen because, look, I don't care if Siemian would have put up 300 yards. If that would have happened, if the Bears only get 10 points at the end of the day, put the ball in the end zone, and he couldn't find a way to do that, his scrambling ability is not there. And yeah, you'd like to see Justin Fields win from the pocket more, but I don't give a damn how he wins as long as he learns how to win. And we've talked about it on the show a few times. That's going to come. That's the last thing you do. As you build a team around you, the wins are the last to come. The culture I think is pretty good right now. The culture within the Bears, that's there. These players really care for each other. The coaching staff, it's all there. The wins will come eventually. That's going to take time. But the whole Trevor Siemian, again, a good veteran backup. He is who he is, and he showed that in the game. And he can't do much with the supporting cast either. What a shock!
What a shock. And just to kind of cap that, I believe Moose Johnson, who was doing the color in that game, mentioned that during the Cowboys, like they're early in the Cowboys career, like they didn't know how to win. They couldn't win, and they
Yes,
didn't
I
have that
caught that.
figured out. They started to get the young talent around them, but they didn't understand how to win football games, and that eventually happened for them. Now I'm not claiming that the Bears are going to win 3 Super Bowls.
There it is. You
That's
did it.
not what I'm saying.
I'm going to
But
make a headliner clip of that right
there
there.
you
I'm going to
go.
share that.
Absolutely. But that does happen at some point. You have to get there. So we'll get into the categories here, but I think that's a good way to start off and put this game into context and confirm some things that I think we knew going in here. But let's start off in the trenches. Trench tribute this week, and of course, every week this year
Yes.
has been sponsored by Portillo's. This week is no different. Get your Portillo's Player of the Week into us, where you get your Bear and Balance for a chance at a $100 gift card. And I may add, a handwritten thank you note from me personally. Like, I have been writing these all year, and someone finally posted one onto the interwebs, onto the Twitter machine, and showed the great handwritten card that I had been sending out. Didn't write didn't show the actual note, but showed the card that I've been sending. That's probably, honestly, I should have been leading with that. That we'll
You should
probably
have,
get
yeah.
more entries now that people know that you get a handwritten thank you note from me, and it just happens to include a $100 gift card. But get them in where you get it, on the Twitter, on the YouTube, on email to ndcitygridiron@gmail.com. Send it to us, put it on the website, put it on the article, wherever you get it. Throw it in there. Lester will put you in the drawing. I do a random number generator and we get it. I am going first this week.
You are.
I did not like a lot of what I saw in the
No.
trenches. I did not have a very good time with this category. And so I'm going to go with Kari Blasingame. Why am I going with Kari Blasingame? Because fullbacks are basically baby linemen. That's what they are. They're little, short baby linemen. And if they were bigger, they'd be on the line somewhere. We got to shout out this fullback. He's been playing good football when he's in there. And he got on the stat sheet this week. It was a target. It wasn't caught, but it was a target. So he got on the stat sheet. So that's very exciting for a baby lineman to get on the stat sheet. I like this player. I like it when I like it when Blasingame's in the game. He makes good blocks. He seems like a smart football player. And I thought he had a pretty good game this week, but I think he's had a good season. He doesn't get a lot of snaps, but when he's in there, he makes them count. And so this week, because I didn't like a lot of what else I saw throughout the offensive and defensive lines, I'm going to go with Kari Blasingame.
I like that pick. I was wondering which one of us would be the first one to really go off. I mean, I kind of went with Patrick Scales, which is
You
a little
opened
off.
the door. You broke the
I
seal.
opened the door. I figured that would be a way to go. But like you said, the fullback in this day and age, they're basically linemen because it's rare they get a target. It's rare they get a carry. There just aren't many fullbacks doing that. And I know the tight end is what most people think of. Oh, that's just an extension of the line because you have to have O-line skills and receiving skills. But the fullback is even more so because they rarely touch the ball. So that's a good pick there. Blasingame is nice. I like what he's done this year too. I'd like to see him play a little more. I think part of it is just the way the offense is kind of goes. They want to do a lot of 3-wide stuff, but I think at some point, if the fullback continues to be incorporated in this offense, they'll find ways to get him involved because there's just so much cool stuff going back to the old school West Coast offense. We talked about Moose Johnson earlier. Moose Johnson was a fullback that was active. Tom Rathman with the Niners. I like the way those old West Coast offenses utilize the fullback, and I think that's something that I would love to see teams do more these days. But they're more used to doing the tight end stuff, the Y, the U. That's what they use as the fullback. But the fact the Bears got one, I think that's good. For me, again, like you, I didn't like a lot of the stuff on the line. But there was one guy that stood out more than the others, and that was the old reliable. We've had him probably as the most trench tributes this year. That's Tevin Jenkins. I was so glad to see him back in the lineup. He is just solidified. I don't know what the deal was, the drama in the offseason. Whatever was going on, I really, really, I say it every week. I hope it's in the past because this guy is definitely a future. I hope his health issue is good. He had the hip for a couple weeks. Of course, he's had the back in the past. But Tevin Jenkins, man, there was just a few plays I noticed he made. I think was the Pringle touchdown where he kind of got beat off the snap. He kind of regathered his feet and re-anchored, which is something that a lot of times we'll see guys get beat on that. Once they're beat with the bull rush or something, they're over. But on that play, I'm pretty sure it was a Pringle touchdown. He kind of got beat to the inside. He caught the guy with his arm, re-anchored, and just stopped him. And then, of course, it was a nice pass. A few other ones I kind of noticed where he was nice on the twists. Not all of them. He had a couple of sloppy ones. But again, he's still in his first year as a right guard. He's coming along. I think I saw the Pro Football Focus grades too. I think he was the Bears' top lineman in run and pass blocking. Just an overall nice game from Jenkins. And I'm just so glad he is back, because let's keep him healthy all the rest of the year, because he's one of the few bright spots. If Fields is going to miss any more time, he's one of the few bright spots there is to watch on that Chicago offense.
Yeah, that was obviously the other pick that made some sense, because you do get the flashes, you do get the spikes in play. And there's a couple plays when I was reviewing, it was like, oh yeah, it's Jenkins.
He's just downfield, right?
You just take him to the ground, just so any play is live for Tevin Jenkins to put a guy on the ground. And that's kind of fun as an offensive line play. So absolutely, that makes a lot of sense there, and good to see him back. And like you say, that's what we're looking for. Who are the guys that are going to be around in a couple of years? Who are the guys that are building blocks for the future of the Bears when they are going to be competing? And I think you have to say that Tevin Jenkins is going to be one of those guys. Hopefully he is bought in and believes that he can be, one of the better guards in the league, because I think he's got the tools to do so. So hopefully that continues to stick. Let's move on to our tweet of the week. I'm highlighting our friend Sam Householder. He is at Sam Householder. He says Darnell Mooney's consecutive games with a catch streak ends at 44. It spanned every game he's played in and was the 16th longest streak in Bears history. So I wanted to bring this up because, one, it looks like Darnell Mooney is probably out for the rest of the year. He was largely invisible through this game until he got injured anyway. Probably didn't have much of a rapport with Trevor Siemian. This is certainly one that he's built up with Justin Fields. So if and when Justin Fields does return this year, he will not have the services of Darnell Mooney, more than likely. I don't think we have any confirmation on that, but it looks like he's probably out for the year. I just kind of wanted to bring him up and ask you a question. Well, first of all, that's 16th longest streak in Bears history. Did you see this tweet, and do you know the top three?
I saw the tweet. I retweeted it, but I did not check what his list was. I was working today most of the day. I didn't have time to kind of dive into it, but
you want to guess?
I knew you're going to put me on the spot here. Can
I
go with is Mike Ditka up there?
Mike Ditka is number one.
Nice.
He is 81 game streak. So excellent on that 81 game streak from Mike Ditka.
And then I'm guessing it might be someone a little more obscure, maybe.
These are not obscure names in Bears history, if you know your Bears history pass catchers.
Well, then we're going to go Harlan Hill on this.
Harlan Hill is number 3. He has a 61 game catch streak.
And then we got to go Johnny Morris.
Johnny Morris, number 2. See, you did it. You did it. Excellent. Good job there. So I want to talk about this in terms of Darnell Mooney's future. There's a couple people speculating that this might impact what Darnell Mooney could get from the Bears in a contract, or maybe this could hurt whether or not he returns to the Bears. My personal opinion is that I don't think it's going to hurt him much. Particularly if this is an injury where he can make a full recovery from. I think he has established himself as someone that the Bears want going forward. I don't know what his market is. I know that he wanted to have a giant year. Of course he did.
Yeah.
The Bears did too. That did not materialize, but I still believe that there is enough of a friendship and a rapport with Justin Fields and where he fits in this offense that he is high on the priority list to come back. But what did you think when you heard that?
Yeah, I kind of think it makes sense. I mean, it's unfortunate that an injury has to kind of affect the cap ramifications, but that's the NFL. It's a business at the end of the day. So I think that's part of it. I also don't think that the Bears ever intended on paying him true wide receiver 1 money. I always think they kind of, he was this year as their number 1 because, they had no one else. But I think they kind of always envisioned him more as a slot guy, maybe even the number 2 option there. He just doesn't have that. It's hard to say this without knocking him. I think he's a very good receiver. I just don't think he falls in that that AJ Brown category, that elite category where he's like a true number one, where you're going to get top dollar. But I think it's going to get big money because, teams need at least 3 receivers these days. They all get paid. So if you're going to pay someone, I think now's the time to pay Mooney, once his deal's coming up here, because the way the roster's structured, it makes sense. And unless you go out and make a big splash in free agency at receiver, which it could happen. I'm not sure they're going to spend that much money there, just because we kind of see what they have here. I think the trenches are something they got to address. That's free agency. They may go in the draft with the guy, let him kind of develop. I think you got to bring Mooney back. I think the 15, 17 million annual has kind of been thrown around out there. I think that's reasonable. I mean, it sounds funny to say that's a reasonable price, but one of your top targets, I think that makes sense. And I like Mooney. I think you hit a nail on the head, though, with the rapport he has with Justin Fields. That's going to go a long way. I mean, the Bears apparently believe in Fields. He's shown he's the guy. If he's the guy, keep the guy happy. And if Mooney's the guy that you deem worthy of this offense, a big part of this offense, bring him back, make it happen.
And you see all these other quarterbacks where teams have gone out and drafted their college teammates to pair up with them, right? Like that happened 3 times in the draft that Justin Fields was taken in, where a team took a college teammate of their quarterback to throw the football to. You've got even examples like Aaron Rodgers, getting the Packers to re-sign Randall Cobb, right? Cobb. Or Tom Brady, and bringing his entourage around, right? You do this. The guys that you have a good relationship with, it really helps. What about you this week?
My tweet of the week is from Rich Harbar, and I'm probably butchering his name, but that's just par for the course with me. He is from Sharp Football. He is at Lord Reeves, and his tweet was the Bears defense last 5 weeks. Now, we know they've been awful. The last 5 weeks, of course, is post Roquan trade, post Robert Quinn trade, but he runs down a list, and the Bears are either dead last or second to last in all these categories. They allowed 3.2 points allowed per drive, dead last. Touchdown allowed, nearly 40% of all drives the Bears have allowed the last 5 weeks, dead last. 41 yards allowed per drive, second to last. 6.7 yards allowed per play, dead last. 3% sack rate, which a lot of that's Justin Fields, but that's this offense and the line, dead last. 72.7% completion rate, second to last. 9.4 yards per pass attempt, dead last. This defense can get no pressure. We just saw the first sack from a Bears D lineman, Armin Watts, since week 6. Front 7 is not the best. Back end with the injuries now, oh my God, it's even worse. This defense is historically bad right now for the Bears.
Yeah, like you mentioned, and I think you're talking about defense, so that sack rate being a super low number. I mean, that's just, there's no pressure, and that leads actually to my stat of the week.
Yeah. What the hell is that?
Perfect. Just
I have the sack watch on the mind. I have sack watch constantly. Yeah, that 3%. Good point. That's the Bears sacks that they're getting after the quarterback, not the other.
So obviously that's a very low number. So there's just no pressure on the quarterback. So the quarterback sitting back and having a very clean pocket. And that leads to some very easy throws, and it leads to a high completion percentage. It leads to a lot of touchdowns and not a lot of interceptions, which leads to my number.
There it is.
Which is 124.7. And that is the opposer passer rating in the last 5 football games. That is a very big number. That is a big passer rating. And one of those 5 games, the quarterback was Marcus Mariota, who is not that good at quarterbacking. And so you would think that would maybe pull it down a little bit. Each quarterback that they have faced has finished that individual game with a passer rating of 100 or more. But overall, those numbers all calculate out to 124.7, 10 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's it in the last 5 games. Very efficient quarterbacking from each of those opponents. They are picking apart and having their way with this Bears defense.
That's nauseating. That's pretty bad. I mean, like you said, it's their comfort level. If you're able to sit back there, the pressure is not coming. And the Bears have tried to blitz. They're just not. They haven't really been able to get home. They're just not. There's some talent there, but it's not the kind of talent that you're really going to expect to get home on blitzes. Jaquan Brisker, I think, leads the team in sacks from a safety spot, which is coming off the edge. It's just horrible. There's not a lot of pressure here. this kind of really shows what they're going to do in the offseason, because you got to have. I mean, no one expected defense to be a top priority going into next season. Everyone thought it'd be build up the offense. But when the defense is historically bad, you got to put some assets there, and it's going to be draft picks. It's going to be free agency, and it's going to be something. It's going to be a big move by Ryan Poles in the offseason.
Absolutely. What about you? What'd you come up with?
And that leads me into my number. My number this week is 22. And that is the number of unrestricted free agents the Bears are currently set to have going into the next offseason. And I'm telling you, these guys on this list, not one of these guys would I be really broken up if the Bears let go. Probably the big name there, obviously, is David Montgomery. I like to see Montgomery back. I think he's a good football player. Again, it's going to come down to the money. Is he going to want 9, 10, 11 million a year? Is it closer to 7 or 8? Where's that number going to fall? Does he want to stay in Chicago? Who knows? But the rest of this list, Nick Morrow, Matt Adams,
Who?
Dakota Dozier is a free agent next year. Our guy, Kerry Blasingame, I'd like to see him come back, but if he's not back, I'm not heartbroken.
I'm sure that's a Vetman type contract for that kind of guy. But yeah,
Vetmans, Byron Pringle's a free agent, Riley Reif, Angelo Blackson, although Blackson does have some void years on his contract, thanks to Ryan Pace. So he'll still be here on the cap, whether he's here or not. DeAndre Houston Carson, I like him. I think he's a good football player, but if they don't re-sign him, it's not the end of the world. 22 players, and literally not one I'd be like, oh my God, he's a must sign. They have to bring him back for the future of this franchise. Not one of them. So that just tells you another big revolving, offseason for Ryan Poles.
Yeah, I think that, we're not probably giving too much away here, but at some point, and it'll probably be the bye week, we're going to have a little bit of a meeting internally and say, might be time for us to continue to follow the rest of the season. We played out the string the last 4 games, but we need to start putting an eye towards, team evaluation, free agency, and the draft, right? So we've got some ideas for some off-season projects, so make sure you're staying tuned with us throughout the off-season, because we've got some fun stuff lined up for you there. Free agency is what starts it. I've got some ideas on how to kind of try to put this into perspective, so that we're prepped for free agency when that happens. But that's a good place for us to start. At this point in the program, we have gone and done what we have called the Fields Report, which is going through the stats and talk about the specific play of Justin Fields. Obviously, he did not play in this football game. If you didn't know that, you were surprised when you heard talk about were they going to start Trevor Siemian or were they going to start Nathan Peterman before the game. And, they end up starting Trevor Siemian with the bad oblique. Toughed it out. There was another quarterback that played yesterday that could not tough it out throughout an oblique injury, but Trevor Siemian, he sure was able to. But I just wanted to read a stat line. That is 16 of 28 for 153 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 17 carries for 157 yards, no touchdowns. What do you think of that stat line?
I think I know whose it is. I think it's a great stat line. I think it was
a nice stat line, right?
It was done within the offense. The offense was clicking and chugging along. And is that the Eagles quarterback right there?
That is Jalen Hurts against the Green Bay Packers last night. They ended up winning that football game, and he is the quarterback of a team that is best record in the NFL. They have only lost 1 football game. And I bring that up because 16 of 28 versus Justin Fields' mark against the Dolphins, which was 17 of 28. 153 yards for Hurts, 123 yards only for Justin Fields. Remember, there was that big play down the field that was dropped. Fields had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Hurts had 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Fields had 3 in that game, no interceptions. The 17 carries for 157 versus the 15 carries for 178. And Fields got in the end zone once on one of those. I'm saying they're very similar football games in terms of what the quarterback brought. Jalen Hurts, and no one needs to necessarily compare Justin Fields against Jalen Hurts. They're different football players. They have different skills, but they're kind of in the same quadrant of type of quarterback, a guy who can hurt you with his legs, a guy who can hurt you with his arm. Jalen Hurts has A.J. Brown, Dallas Goedert, Devonta Smith as weapons. He has the best offensive line blocking for him in front of him and blocking for his running backs who are also similarly running the football very well, like the Bears are this year. You would take any of those three weapons from the Eagles, and they would be the best weapon that the Bears would have, right? Like he has a better infrastructure. He also has a better defense on the other side, so he's generally playing with the lead. All I'm saying is that this thing is, the narrative around Hurts last night when they stopped talking about the two quarterbacks that were
Oh
wearing
my
green and
God,
yellow.
that was awful. Yeah, that was
I
terrible.
mean, the slurp fest for those two gentlemen. Generally, you have to do something in the NFL to earn
No,
the commentator slurping on you. But
not Jordan Love. Just
Jordan
has that
Love,
G
I
on his
mean,
helmet.
wow,
Yeah, he's already there.
he
They've
completes
anointed
passes
him.
against shell defenses. He's the next coming.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to Hurts. Back to Hurts and Fields. The point is, I think that Justin Fields got some love and changed the narrative over that nice hot streak that he went on. And I think that was deservedly so. But he still didn't hear, the resounding positiveness from everyone because they're not winning football games. But the winning part will come when the rest of the team talent improves around him. That at least, I feel very confident in saying that. If you could put Justin Fields into an offense with that surrounding cast that we watched the Eagles have last night, I would feel pretty confident that his numbers would be as good or even better than what we have seen from him at his highs or Jalen Hurts at his highs. And so I think that's the confidence that you have to have when you're watching some of these good football teams right now. You're watching the Bills, you're watching the Eagles, and there's two of the best teams in the league, and you say, man, my quarterback can do that. The guy that wears number 1 for the Bears, he can do that stuff. Just those guys didn't do that in their second year either. Like it took time. And so I think that might be a takeaway through the last month of the year as beginning of the playoffs is just to start to envision what this Bears offense can look like when Ryan Poles is able to put some more talent around Justin Fields like these other teams with quarterbacks that have similar skill sets.
Yeah, you look around the league and the young quarterbacks that have kind of when they blossomed. When does that happen? Well, it does. Some of them just it happens naturally because you're just that good. And I think Justin Fields has shown in that stretch he had with we talked about it, no talent around him, and he was probably one of the most electrifying players in the NFL during that stretch. Now imagine him with like the Bills have Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox, more talented receivers, more talented pass catchers, a better offensive line. You talk about the Eagles offense, look around the league, the quarterbacks that are doing it, they need help. You can't do it all by yourself. It's fun that he's carrying the team, but that's not the way to win in the NFL. You got to build it up. And, it's really seemed like the Bears wanted to kind of, I don't know if it was they were giving him a prove it year, but it seems like because they didn't really do too much to kind of build it up around him. I talked about it on previous shows. We mentioned him today, Dakota Dozier. He was in line to be a starter on this offensive line until he got hurt. That's malpractice, but that's also a GM saying, "Hey, I want to see if this guy has what it takes. If he does, I'll make him my guy." It seems like he's the guy based on some moves they made in during the season, the Chase Claypool move, that's a move with the future in mind. If you have your quarterback set, you're not making that trade unless you think you have the quarterback. There's just no point in that. So I think they're content going forward with Justin Fields. I think, again, big off season, build up the trenches, get him another weapon or two. And I think we're going to see this team make that leap next season.
I think that's a good place for us to take a quick break. On the other side of it, we will talk and try to find some candidates for everybody's favorite category, the Three Bears. Stick with us. All right, Lester, let's talk Three Bears. Hot bowl of porridge, cold bowl of porridge, and just right. Hot bowl of porridge for me this week. I think that it's got to be the contested catches.
Oh, okay.
Because it's out of nowhere. We have not had any real expectation that these receivers can make contested catches. we had Chase Claypool down the sideline, getting a contested catch over Sauce Gardner, who is almost certainly going to be defensive rookie of the year and has
Yeah.
been one of the best cornerbacks in the league already. Very talented young player. And he looked pretty good against him. And I think that should show what Claypool can bring out of the box, and hopefully he can improve a little bit more down the line. Not the cleanest catch in the world, but wet football conditions, like, that was kind of, all around. There's a little bit of a book on Chase Claypool that he doesn't have the best hands. So something to keep in mind. He is going to drop some down the line, but that was a good contested catch. And then that Byron Pringle touchdown, where, again, I think that was a bad decision by Trevor Siemian, but he was able to wrestle it away for a touchdown. Those two catches just haven't been there. Like, there have been a lot of 50-50 balls, or even like 75-25 balls that just get that go the other way, or fall incomplete, because the Bears wide receivers haven't been able to win those balls. So it was nice to see a little bit of that early, which gave us some hope as Bears fans, that early on this game might just be a shocker, because they hung around a little longer than I think a lot of people gave them credit for.
Yeah, the buzz on social media during the game was, oh my God, the Bears are going to mess around and win this game. I mean, they were in it. They were right there, and at this point, the Jets hadn't really done too much explosive on offense. But as the game wore on, of course, the Jets realized that, oh my God, the Bears defense has nobody. Let's just take our time and kind of chew them up, and that's what they did. And no, that's a good call. I think one thing that, like, the Chase Claypool catch, maybe Justin Fields sees this and he sees, okay, sometimes I have to just chuck it up there and let my guy make a play. With a guy like Claypool, who's 6'4", 6'5", he's got that size, got that speed. Sometimes you do that, and that rapport will come with Justin Fields and Chase Claypool as they grow together. Trevor Siemian, I think he just said, "What the hell? I'm just going to do this because what do I have to lose?" So he just kind of did it. The same with the throw to Pringle. Like I said, when that throw was made and it happened, and then they showed the replay, I'm like, oh my God, why did he even throw that? That was just, but hey, again, at some point, trust your guy to make a play. And I think, Justin Fields will kind of take a look at that. And I also think Justin Fields may kind of look at some of the stuff he did early with Siemian, and he kind of had some of the checkdowns. He just took them a little quicker. Justin Fields doesn't always want to take the check down as quick as we saw it with Trevor Siemian. Part of it is he's looking to go big. Part of it may be the play design. But sometimes, depending on the look the defense gives you, a veteran quarterback knows, okay, this will be there right away, and it should be enough to get some yards. So I think Justin Fields, while I wanted to see him play, I think he's the kind of guy that can learn from watching a veteran quarterback operate the offense.
Yep. I agree. What about you? Hot bowl for you?
I'm glad you left me the layup. So I'm going to go Jack Sanborn, 14 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. He also had a tackle on special teams. Undrafted free agent out of Wisconsin, Lake Zurich's own. No one expected this. I think I saw a stat earlier today where he has more solo tackles than Roquan during their time, since he's been on the Ravens, which is just kind of weird to hear, but he's been playing well, and I was kind of listening to people during the game talk about Sanborn, how he's so unathletic. He's just a plugger. He's just and then I looked at his numbers. So I'm like, I remember seeing him a little bit at the pro day and the combine. So I pulled up his RAS. We've talked about quite a bit with Math Bomb. Not elite, but he's in the sevens. He has a couple top numbers here. His 10-yard split is really good. I think his 3-cone shuttle, really good. 2 things you want to have for a linebacker, especially at the mic there. But it's his instincts, his understanding of his keys, reading what's happening in front of him, his understanding of what's the offense trying to do. It helps him play faster. And it's still too early to know if he's going to be the future Mike for this team. He may end up settling in at the Sam, but I think he's shown enough to where he is part of the future. If he gets beat out by someone, next year, so be it. But I'm excited, man. Jack Sanborn, man, number 57. He's get the jerseys. It's if he keeps doing this, the popularity is through the roof, and that's a lunch pail kind of guy right there for the Chicago Bears.
Fan favorite. People are going to love that. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Hey, 50s Bears jerseys. I mean, can you really go wrong? I mean, those are just great history with that particular first number. pick whatever number you want after that. It's been pretty good. So yeah, good stuff there. I do think that was the layup. But on the other side of this, cold bowl of porridge, um, you get beat by 3 scores,
Yeah.
and what do you want to do? You can do anything that you want with this. I'm just going to point out the Kindle Vildor play. If you're going to hold a guy, if you're going to get called for pass interference or defensive holding, whatever it ended up being, prevent the guy from doing anything. Like that was a clown level play. Like, I mean, that was bad. He tries to hold Garrett Wilson, and Garrett Wilson breaks away from him, and then he falls down, and then Garrett Wilson is wide open for the first touchdown. I mean, it's a touchdown already. That's bad. It's an interference call, which means that they have like focus and they're going to keep showing the play. And then you fell down when you interfered. Like, I mean, it was like a trifecta. It was maybe one of the worst plays that defensive plays that I've seen in a very long time. Didn't have a strong game overall either. That's a tough draw. And again, you're not getting any pass rush at all. And so, Mike White sitting back there without any issues, and it was just dealing like all quarterbacks have been against the Bears secondary in the last 5 games. But that was a bad play. I got to give Cold Bowl for that.
Yeah, he had a rough game. I think you hit it though. It's that pass rush. I mean, it's if you're not helping out your secondary at all, you just wait. You wait it out and you'll find your guy. And I think Fielder's had a nice season. I still think Fielder's his ceiling may be there. I mean, if he's a top reserve, I think that's a better place for the Chicago Bears. But they're counting on him now to be a playmaker in that secondary, and that's not who he is. I mean, for me, I'm going to go front 7. Al Quadin Muhammad, 50 snaps, which is 79% of the snaps. And I'm sure you know this. He didn't scratch the stat sheet again. This is his 3rd game this season where he had no tackles. It's that old thing, what exactly do you do here, right?
There was a name for, I'm not a basketball guy, so I apologize that I am going to butcher this. But there was this player who like had logged like 25 minutes or something in a game and had no assists, no points, no rebounds, no fouls, like nothing. It was just like on the court, but like didn't do anything of substance to get on the stat sheet. And so they had like a name for it. That's him, man. Like he is. These are wasted snaps, and we've been calling it out for a few weeks here, probably a little longer. But at some point, you have to give the guy a little bit of time to show. But I mean, what are you doing? Like, why give him the snaps? And I know you don't have a lot behind him, and you're paying him money and whatever. But at this point, if you're not seeing what we're seeing on film, then I'm not sure I don't know what we're missing. Let's assume that we're missing something that he's doing. But if we're seeing what you're seeing, get somebody else in there, elevate somebody from the practice squad, just see what happens. At this point in the year, his reps are absolutely wasted.
I tried watching him a little bit on my rewatch. Like I said, like, well, what are they seeing in him? Is he setting the edge really good? Is he commanding? Is he drawing double teams? It's like, what is he doing out there? And nothing really stood out from him. And I liked the signing when they made it. I'm like, yeah, this is going to be a nice piece here. He knows the defense. I watched his film from the Colts. He was an ascending player. He kind of came in out of nowhere. He worked himself up to where he was a really good part of that defense. Maybe he's just not that guy. He needs help around him. I mean, it's obvious he can't be a centerpiece, but now it's like he's doing nothing at all. So I just don't really see what's the point of, like you said, giving him these reps when he's doing nothing with him.
Absolutely. Just right bowl for me. A couple guys that I considered that I'm not giving it to would be Trenton Gill, who I think had a nice football game, punter, the guillotine, and then Jalen Johnson. I think had a pretty good football game in a bad game, but I think he's doing what you want. But for me, it's David Montgomery, man. Came out, played some really good football, 14 carries for 79 yards. That's a 5.6 yard average. Runs the ball hard. He got 3 catches on 4 targets for another 34 yards. Made a guy miss. Had a nice explosive play there along a 28 for that passing play. I listen. I understand math. I get it. I get the analytics stuff. I feel like I can live in that world pretty well, better than most football fans. Football is not played on a spreadsheet, and locker rooms are not built on spreadsheets. This guy, if he's again, it's all comes down to the details. But if he wants to go get paid top dollar, go do it, David Montgomery. It probably is not with the Bears because I'm not sure that Ryan Poles is that kind of guy. So if you can go get that money somewhere else and you'll be happy, go get paid. Stack the chips in your bank account. But if you want to be part of this team going forward and have an agreement that both sides can feel good about, as I'm not saying like pay him really cheap. I'm saying like a good, solid running back deal that both sides can feel good about. I want him here.
Yeah.
He's a good football player and he does really good things on the field. And he stepped up and he did exactly what I think he would when he doesn't have somebody like Khalil Herbert who's, challenging him for a lot of the carries. Honestly, I like Darrington Evans. He looked like pretty solid. I don't like that split. I don't like 14 carries for Montgomery and 9 for Evans. I'd like to see more for David Montgomery. I'd like to see him carry more of the load when it's him and somebody like Evans behind him, because you're going to get more out of those reps because he has that opportunity to break a tackle and make a chunk gain.
Yeah, I'm with you there with Montgomery. I looked at over the cap, and they do their contract projections for a few free agencies a few free agents, and one of them was Montgomery, and they have him projected, I think, a little over $9 million a year, which that's probably ballpark for a top running back on the market. But how many running backs get paid that kind of money? Now, look, I like Montgomery's overall skill set, but he's not explosive to the point where he's a threat when he touches the ball. And those are usually the guys that get paid big money. So I can see that annual average a little lower than that. And if that's the case, if it's coming in around 8, how do you let him go? I don't think he'll have a huge market. I think, like you said, if the Bears offer him a fair contract, something both sides can work with, he does bring more to the table than just what he does as a runner. He's a good, pass blocker. He's good on the backfield. They have lined him up in different spots, this season, kind of get him out there and see what he can do. Bring him back, bring him back.
What about you?
I thought about Montgomery, but I'm staying in the backfield. And you just mentioned him, Evans. He may have got a few more reps than probably should have, especially given the situation. But for what he was, this was his most reps of the season, 9 times, 34 yards. He had that nice 33-yard catch. Here's another guy. He's a good athlete. I mean, he's not Khalil Herbert fast, where he's not to hold that quick. But when he was picked up by the Titans, they thought he was going to be the nice lightning to Derrick Henry's thunder. Has that kind of athleticism. He's a running back. I was surprised that he did not make the 53. I was shocked with Treston Ebner out of camp. I just thought Evans gave them a little more, especially what we've seen with Ebner these last few weeks. The Bears have realized this as well. He's now assigned to the active roster. He'll be there probably until Herbert's back, if he comes back. And if Herbert's not healthy and good to go, why would you bring Herbert back? Because he's clearly a part of this team moving forward. Why not just have Evans be the guy behind Montgomery? Let him spell him a little bit. See what we have there. Because, again, we talked about receivers. You have to have a few guys there. You need more than just 2 backs. I mean, it's good to have a third guy. Evans can play special teams for you. He can cover kicks. He can do that for you as well. Ebner, not sure he's even going to be the guy in the future. So, see what Evans has. He's another cheaper guy. I think he's going to be a restricted free agent, so he's not going to command big money next year. Bring him back, draft the guy. Now you have your 4 guys to kind of see what you have at the tailback spot next season.
I like it. Given the just right Bulls to the backfield, gotta love it. It was
a lot of backfield love today. We had the fullback, both tailbacks,
right? Yeah, everybody got a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with the guys that tote the ball. That's kind of what that game was. I mean, it wasn't very pretty. There wasn't a lot to really like on the Bears side of things, but we're trying to sift through the muck and try to find some flecks of gold or whatever. Maybe it's fool's gold sometimes. We're doing our best. We'll end it there for the podcast. Just got to give you guys an idea. There's more football games. We're going to keep doing these. You know,
Packers week.
this Packers week. Then there's a bye week. I was going to take a break, but I got a message from our friend Jack Silverstein saying, "Hey, man, what do you think about me coming on and talking a little Hall of Fame with you and Lester and kind of what he's got a project that he's been working on. He's got some insight into Devin Hester's being on the ballot here, a couple of the other Lovey defenders who may not be really doing so well in the Hall of Fame balloting. And he's, let's come on and maybe spend a little time." Said, bye week might be a good time for that. So if you like a little Hall of Fame talk, I think we're going to do that during the bye week. So that'll happen then. Then we got another 4 weeks after that. We're going to get through this thing. We're going to do it each and every week.
There's going to be a couple more stinkers here because you got Eagles, you got Bills coming up.
Yeah.
Those may be challenging shows, but at least with our show, we're a day later. The emotions are calmed down. So did you happen to catch Robert's post-game show yesterday where he
had
himself?
A Me, Myself, and Irene show?
It was a very, very odd show. It was very interesting. It was like kind of like the Bears show, right? The Bears game. It's like a car wreck. You just got to watch it and see what's happening. It was just ridiculous, but fun. I think there's something there, though. I mean, he mentioned he's going to try and do something similar like that moving forward. I know there's that Skip Bayless meme that's out there, video where they made where he went against himself, and that's kind of what his idea is. And I'm like, I see it. I see his vision. Let's just focus him in and get him there, because it was a interesting post-game show where he interviewed himself. It was just, literally he's talking to himself the whole show, and he is good at it. Like, man, I don't know if he does it normally or he really practiced it for this game, but
this is probably something he's been doing for years.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
This
interesting.
And now he turns it on and just like, does this work? He's been doing it for years anyway, right? Otherwise, stick around the site. Again, at some point here, we will start to pivot a little bit and start to look at the off season. Football is an all year round sport. The team building aspect is something that we do a lot of work on, and we talk a lot about, and we write a lot of words about it. And that'll all be at the website. So check that out. And then, of course, we'll be sticking with you on the podcast and in the YouTube. We'll stick around a little bit to handle the comments on this live stream that we have many. And we will see you podcasters next week. Packers week. Gear up, everybody. Until next time, bear down.
That was such a wild show. I watched some of it and I listened to the pod. I'm like, yeah, it was fun. You could tell he enjoyed himself too. It was an interesting show.
I have used this phrase before, but talking with Robert sometimes can be like, you wonder if he just got done eating like an entire box of Pixie Sticks, those like flavored sugar tubes that you get like Halloween, because he's a Energizer bunny. Like he just goes. So I can see that being a thing that could work, because he just can go. He had a 6-hour live stream.
Oh yeah. That's normal.
Yeah, but like he sent us a text. He's like, "Oh, new record, 6 hours." I'm like, 6 hours? Like, can you imagine? This is after a full day of work.
And he's very interactive. Like if you ever jump in a show, if you're listening and you only have a few 10-15 minutes, jump in his all 22 breakdown, shoot him some questions in the comment section. He will answer them all. He will interact with you. He'll break down plays you want to see. He will go over stuff in depth, really, really in depth. And it's an interesting show for sure.
I guess I mentioned that during the show too. Simeon had the oblique injury, and I don't want to go too much into the Rodgers stuff, but that was
You had some tweets. Yeah,
I did. I was in my feelings a little bit last night. That was set up all week. We said it through the week too. Like that was set up. Like all of this talk about him being like, oh, now where it's coming out that he's got this thumb's a little bit worse, and then he had the mouthpieces, the Ian Rappaports and the Adam Schefter. And like, look, those guys are very successful. They've got all the contacts in the world, but like when you read their stuff, like they are clearly spinning for the player or
Yeah.
spinning for like whoever is giving them information, they're putting it out there in a spun fashion. Like they get sent information and they just retweet it. And that's how they get their power. And the ways that Rappaport's tweet read, just this like, it is amazing that he is even out there. And this is a warrior, and I'm like, this guy is gonna the whole week. I'm like, he's gonna milk this injury thing, and it's gonna get worse. Something's gonna happen, and you're gonna, and this oblique. Can the doctor really? That's one of those where that's all on you. Like well, can you go? That's what they're gonna ask you. Like, how do you feel? Because they can't tell. That's not an injury where they can be like, nope, you're out, man. Like I can tell that's a tendon that's gone, or that's a muscle. Nope. Like that is a personal injury. And then there was something about how he thought he had a collapsed lung, and so they took him in, they x-rayed him.
I
think it's Lester. I think it's BS.
Yeah.
I think it's absolute BS. I think it's a way for him to. He knows the cameras are on him. He's smart. He's been around for a long time. I think he's mugging. I think this was an act for him. I'm not a conspiracy guy. I think this was him trying to get out and basically be able to blame his bad play on injury and kind of ride off a little bit and be like, you know what, whatever. I've done what I needed to do. I've proven everything, and just that's my conspiracy theory. I think he's full of it.
This is what I think is going to happen. I think he's going to play against the Bears because the Bears defense is horrendous. Yeah. So I think he talked about it today in his press conference. I believe that I don't know if it was a presser or he just kind of met the media in the locker room, whatever, but he said that he should be good to go. I can't see him missing it. The oblique will heal up. The thumb will heal up. He'll be fine. And then, win or lose, the Packers aren't going anywhere if they beat the Bears. So then I think at some point something will happen where he can shut it down and just kind of take the rest of the year off. And then he'll reevaluate. And the Packers have to reevaluate what they have with Jordan Love and if the Aaron Rodgers contract situation, what that's going to mean to the franchise. But it's going to be him and the Bears owning the Bears probably one last time on his way out of town.
Whatever. Go eat some ghee, hippie. Go do your thing, man. Just get out of our lives. It's just I'm done with it. I'm done with him. John selling me. I should tell Blasingame he is a baby lineman when he meets him. Listen,
he'd probably enjoy it.
He'd probably think it's funny.
Yeah, right.
And I tell you, Blasingame, I think he's about my height. I think I might be a little lower on the scale now. That is a recent revelation for me. But and he's clearly more built as a fullback. But
he's such a good athlete too. That's why I want to see him get the ball once in a while. Yeah. Get him a couple of those fullback dives. Why not? Let's go.
I don't see why not. And again, it would make our hype man, Windy City Gridiron hype man is happy. No one loves fullbacks more than
Aaron loves the fullback dive. I think what happened was when he first started coming to WCG comment section, that was the Ron Turner era. And that was the big thing was, the fullback dive. It's funny because I went back and checked the numbers one time for an article. They only, I think, did 3 the whole season. But somehow, through the annals of
did he play fullback and he just thinks that's great?
It wasn't just him. It was pretty much the comment section. Every time it would always be a joke, the fullback dive. I think it's kind of grew out of nowhere, and it was interesting.
I like this Montgomery Trench tribute because he does more damage to D lines than most of the Bears O line. That is pretty true. Chris says, "Spend all the money."
Yes.
Spend it. Get out there.
They have to too, right? The way the league's set up, you can't keep it in your pocket. I mean, you have to spend a certain amount of your cap space. I know this year the Bears were kind of weird because they had so much dead money, so they didn't really have that option available to them. But next year with minimal dead money, there'll still be dead money there, Ryan Pace. It's not going away. There's still some dead money on the books. There'll be more once a couple of these guys that are playing now are gone. But yeah, they have to spend it. So it's going to be Like we always hear the sim the season. That's the Madden thing. I would love for them to sim this season. I would love to get to the end of the road and see how they build this thing up, because this offseason is going to be so exciting for us.
It's going to be an incredibly exciting offseason. Absolutely. We've got some pro Monty re-signings and an anti. Probably put a poll in the field sometime. We should put a poll in the field. Say, do you want Dave Montgomery to sign an extension? See where everybody's at. We got our guy. He's back. He's back. Even though they lost on Thanksgiving, he's still okay because they fought hard. It was a
nice
loss.
game. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm telling you, man, it was unreal. He comes in, they're playing prevent, they're playing shell, and Watson makes a great play. Awesome, good for him, right? But somehow it's like
it's Jordan Love.
It's Jordan Love, and then they talk about how Love came in for Rodgers came in for Brett Favre, and you were doing this game, and I'm not saying, I'm just saying, it's like, get out of here. Like, let him do something. If he becomes the next great quarterback, great. But like, can we just let him be Jordan Love for a while and see it, and prove it, and see what happens here? I just, it's just so disgusting. It's so disgusting. We have to. Why? What happened that we have to deal? Is it go all the way back to like Bart Starr, and it was just like this contract? It's like you have to just love Packers quarterbacks. Like, did Don Majkowski get talked about like this? Like, I don't know, but it's disgusting. I don't like it. I don't like it.
Chris has something there about paying Saquon Barkley. That rumor popped up last week. I think it wasn't really a rumor. I should correct myself. It was more a writer just connecting dots. And I think they put out a speculative article. And that was all over Bears Facebook, all over Bears Twitter. It was on Reddit. It was it was all being talked about like it was something going to happen. I was asked about it several times. Are they going to sign Saquon Barkley? I'm like, no, they're not going to sign. How is this going to happen? And I'm like, where are you hearing this? And I kind of looked into it. I'm like, okay, it was just some rando guy made an article or was on a podcast, and he kind of just connected some dots, and that would be nice. And that's not happening. They're not paying top dollar.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from either. I have kind of likened the situation. I like Pollard a lot. I think he's a good running back. That might be one of those situations where they maybe have the carries flipped a little bit, and you'd like to see Pollard get a little bit more action. But Pollard's a good back all the way around. So
I think he's staying in Dallas somehow.
Yeah,
I think they'll figure that out.
Yeah, I don't know if Pringle's a jump ball receiver, but he's certainly a wrestler. That was, I mean, no one's really talking about it, because why would you talk about a Bears touchdown pass in a negative way? I'm really not trying to bag on it, but that's a no. Oh my God, yes, great touchdown type play. Like, that was a bad decision. But your receiver bails you out, and that's great. But people were like, I tweeted that out. It's like, oh, that's a bad decision, but like, okay. People are like, Fields needs to trust his players to make plays like that. And I'm like, actually, no, I'm going to disagree with that. Maybe the Claypool,
one, a one-on-one down the sideline.
You got the coverage. Go see if your guy can make a play. I agree with that. But no, that was actually a bad throw. That was a bad idea given the coverage. And you got super lucky. That's one of those where they put like percentage that this guy catches the ball from the next gen stats, and it's like a 1% chance. Like, don't do that. No, that is not teach tape. Just seeing Hurts destroy Green Bay with his legs skew the Bears' decisions about playing Fields this week. I think it's just about his health. I think that I don't think they're going to risk him just for a random. I know we all want to believe me. I would. Draft position, all that stuff. So I want to beat Green Bay. I hate this. I hate this so much.
And the McCaskies want to have Green Bay go down to defeat. So
right.
I think Justin Fields is going to play, because he was limited in practice all last week. He was pushing to play. They said that it was going to be a game time decision. If the organization, which what the report was, the organization was making a call, if they really wanted him to sit, they would have had him either doubtful or out on Friday's report. He was questionable. They talked about game time decision. Trevor Siemian said he wasn't sure he would start until that day, till he was on the field, and then he, of course, he had the oblique and he had to have his own issues. But they were kind of taken to the wire. So I think if the shoulder's a little better this week, if he's able to get some team drill stuff in, I think he goes. That's a good one there.
That's awesome. I should have made that tweet. That was great. I said it was our new 3 technique, but that's a better. That's a more.
So the cocaine bear, that's a movie coming out, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay. I saw that was trending. I'm like, what the hell is cocaine bear? And then like I realized.
Well, I saw Ross said something about Sam Hurd, but I thought was Sam Hurd wasn't that a marijuana bust? I don't remember. Maybe it was a cocaine thing. I don't. That was a long time. And Sam Hurd was a Bear for like 5 minutes. It sucks that happened when he played for the Bears and not the Cowboys. Well, Nate Newton had like a metric ton of marijuana when he got busted, right? Wasn't that Nate Newton?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, but maybe it was. Maybe Ross had the right joke. It's one of those like you throw something like that into a room full of Bears writers and podcasters, and everybody's going to take a crack at trying to make the joke. And I mean, I don't know. I take a cocaine bear as a 3 technique, right? Like I mean, I think it would be pretty effective. That's where you put him, right? I mean, big guy on the line, like kind of out of control. That's the guy that Eberflus has been looking for.
That is
the
cocaine
bear. You want the dancing bear at left tackle. You need the cocaine bear at 3 technique.
This show took a turn.
What do you want, man? This team's 3-9.
Exactly.
I want free cheese. Was it good cheese? I mean, free cheese could be bad. I mean, I've become more snobby about
here it is.
Food and drink as I get older.
Time for a cheese draft, maybe on the next.
We already did the cheese draft, right? And I got killed because I didn't take queso.
Yeah.
EJ took queso, and it was over. It was like, well, okay. I don't know. And yes, that is absolutely true, but he wasn't a bear. So I thought about trying to make that joke, like, here's the alternate history if Lawrence Taylor was a bear or something like that. But I was like, I don't think people are going to get that. I kind of messed it. I spent way too much time thinking about my joke. That's probably part of the problem. Is that it was okay, but it wasn't great. It's and this is true, Michael. To expect anyone to achieve greatness with this current roster is to deny reality. I don't think anybody is thinking greatness, which I think
there were a few in the off season, and as they saw this team built, there were a few that were thinking they were drinking the Kool-Aid. They heard a few of the celebrity guys doing their pandering bit, and they're like, did you see what so-and-so tweeted about at camp? Yeah, they're gonna do great. They'll be okay. There's still some holes. If they get everything to go just right, maybe, but the odds of everything happening perfectly are really slim. So this is going to be a 5 or 6 win team is what I think most of us who live in reality expected.
And they've been in games, but they've been in games because they have this like dynamo wearing number 1, right? And let's just make this comment that I hope that the reason why you guys that are watching this right now, an hour 8 into a Monday night game on a 3-9 football team, is that, well, hopefully we're somewhat entertaining, but 2 is that we're not blowing smoke. Like, we're not going to promise you things that aren't there. We're not takedown artists where we're just trying to unnecessarily take that guys down. And we're not trying to just say this guy's going to be the next coming of Walter Payton or Red Grange or, who Sid Luckman or whatever. We're trying to break down these games and give an honest opinion. And there are niches out there. There are people that get high off of the idea of selling hope. And there are people that get high off of the idea of breaking this team down and being super negative, because there are people that want those echo chambers and want to live inside of there. That's fine. If that's how you want to consume your media, I would hope that the people that come here and hang out with us are the ones that want to see the game for what it is and want to be along for the ride and have a dose of reality every week, good and bad. That's why the show's called Bear and Balance.
That's it. Nailed on the head. That's exactly who we are. We try to be. We don't try and that's why we come a good day later, because I've talked about before, doing that immediate post game, the emotion's higher. So if I ever were going to have a meatball ish take, it would happen on an immediate post game show. So I'm glad we have a chance to kind of come back, cool down, take it easy, watch the game, hear the pressers, and then let's talk about the Bears.
Well, it seems like a good place to leave it. We got 5 more of these, plus maybe a conversation with Jack. So I think it's a tough year, but I think we've had some fun along the way. I think there's still some stuff to be seen here, even if it's going to be against divisional opponents and then maybe the Super Bowl matchup. Like literally, I think that there's a very real possibility the Bears could be playing the NFC rep followed by the AFC rep. And so I think that how you approach those games, honestly, and now that I think about it, where are the Packers at? What are they going to be dealing with? They're not having a very good season. Like that's very clear. What are they going to look like? What are the Lions going to look like next year? The Vikings are riding high. Those Vikings fans right now are getting cocky, right?
They are.
Let them have their fun. Let them have their year. But are they sustainable? I don't think so. I don't think they can win anything big with Kirk Cousins. So, like, watch those teams and then watch the Eagles and the Bills because that's where you want the Bears to be. Like, those are the teams that you want the Bears to be competing with in a year or two, right? So I think there's actually some pretty interesting stuff that you can learn over the next 5 games because it's the 3 teams in your division and it's the 2 teams that you want to be like.
Yeah, I think the division's fun because, the Lions, I think, if you're just going on who has the brighter future of the other 3 teams, it might be Detroit. I mean, if they get the quarterback spot figured out, and I'm not sure if Dan Campbell's going to be their long-term coach there, but they do seem to have a group that really cares for each other and they'll fight. And, they have that going for them at least. So they get the quarterback spot figured out. Maybe some of their younger talent, which I like their drafts the last few years. I'm not a big believer in the Vikings. It is true though. They're getting a little chirpy online. I've seen a lot of the Viking fans talking about the Ryan Poles. We're going to win the North and never get back. A lot of those memes out there, like Ryan Poles wasn't talking about this year.
Your fight isn't with us.
Yeah. Why are you arguing with Bears fans?
This?
Very strange.
And that was someone named Amy, I think, and Ted Glover, Purple Buckeye.
There was a few of them.
At least this one.
Ted, that was the big one with Ted.
Your fight's not with us.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? Like, go out and we weren't competing this year. Oh, some Bears fans were saying, okay, fine. They weren't listening to our shows because that's for sure. But we'll give them this year. Okay, have your fun, right? Post around, and then we'll see what happens next year. Next year's going to be more competitive. I think it's going to be a lot more fun.
It better be.
I think more competitive all around. The Vikings could clinch this week. That's how crazy the North is. Like the thing's almost over. Like no one's competing with them right now. So let's. It's going to be better next year. So, all right, Lester, let's get out of here.
We're done. Let's get the hell out of here.
Join the Monday night game, everybody. We'll see you next week.